Hey, welcome back to Fishing with Mr. Chow, and now we're going to go through my spark plugs and see how they are and see if they need to be replaced. So enjoy the video.
My homemade pliers I use for pulling wires off. These grab the wire, so you can rock it back and forth without destroying it. Some of these are for sale in the market, but I didn't like them, so I cut reliefs in here so that it gets on the wire and holds the wire without tearing the boot up. Regular pliers, they usually split the boots and that ruins the wire. It's no good anymore.
Okay.
So a welder and a little bit of grinding and shaping to get these the way I wanted them. Have you been doing a lot of drafting?
A lot of what?
A lot of drafting, idling around with your
Oh yeah.
And you are running 87 fuel, right? Not 91.
I'm running 87 and 89, depending.
Right, stay with 87.
Okay.
Are you using the Techron or Quick Clean in it? Good.
I use Costco gas or Chevron. Chevron's got the
best fuel in the market, in my opinion, and Union right there with them. But when I see black deposits, I've seen a whole lot worse. If you do a lot of low-speed running, like graphing, it'll cause the plugs to look like that.
Okay.
That will usually burn off. If you run at cruising speed of 4,500 to 5,000, that's where the motors run the cleanest. They'll lean the mixture out. If you got good temperature, a lot of air velocity through it, it'll clean the plugs up and they'll start turning back brown again.
Okay.
But idling like we did here will add to that too. That's when they run the dirtiest. This is idle and wide open.
Okay.
Just so you guys watching or notice, I was a little lazy and didn't pull the cowlings off when I first started. This is a whole lot easier to do if you pull the cowlings off and get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely must pull the cowlings on the 250 motor. 200s are not 3-liter motors.
Okay.
Don't even attempt to work on them without pulling the cowlings.
Tight spots.
That one
looks a little bit darker. Okay.
It's got, and I see this quite oftenly. The water comes in from the bottom of the motor, the cool water, it hits that cylinder first. That's also why that cylinder is more prone to cold seizure.
Okay.
If everything's not warmed up good, the cold water hits it and contributes to cold seize. It seems like number 6 never runs perfectly clean.
Oh, okay.
All right, pressure tester, battery temperature.
Sure, my plugs. Okay.
Go back and look at it. So I went through load test, computer work, noted all the pressure, retrieved all the codes, analyzed coolant temp, and I think there's a problem. So we're going to pull the stats and test them in warm water, how fast they open and close, and exactly what temperature.
Okay.
I did not west test the coils. I'll do that after I put the spark plugs back in it.
Okay.
On it. I'll mist them all down. And the reason for wet test, you use a spray bottle, a mister, and you wet everything down with it running. And if you see arcing or you hear it start running badly, you got to replace where that leakage is. If it's a plug wire, because they can punch right through the side and follow the moisture. The wet water will make it show up. Where if it's dry, it won't arc, but as soon as you get moisture on it, it starts jumping the ground. Or coil leaks through the side. Spark comes through. You're trying to identify those things before it become a more serious problem. So we will do that. Now, I'm going to screw new plugs in this thing just because. I just guys think spark plugs come gapped. They come gapped, just not the proper gap.
Okay.
And this really happens all the time, especially on this particular plug that's used in that motor, a 1ZRF 6J plug.
Yep.
They come from the factory gap 28 thousandths. If you buy the plugs from Mercury, you get the 6J-11 plugs. They supposedly have the proper gap of 42 thousandths. I found from experience they don't. Even if you buy the 11 plugs, you better check them. But more often than not, I'm always finding sometimes substantially off. And you don't use just any old, you don't use flat gauges, you use what we call a wire gauge. See the little wires coming out? Because of the design of the spark plugs, a flat gauge won't give you a true reading because you have a little bend or arc of things. So you put a gauge in there and it says 40 thousandths, and if you use a wire gauge, you find out it's 45 thousandths. So you use the wire gauges to test them. And it's very, very important. I don't think we can see this in a video. So you see that tiny tip, and inside here on the ground, you'll see a little tiny deposit of material. That's the precious metal that's critical. It makes these plugs work so good. And so you got to handle them carefully. You can't put something through here and force it through it. It's got to go through with absolutely no resistance. Let's go to this one. I have two sets of gauges because they both have different sizes in them on it. I took two sets to get all the sizes that I want. Okay, that one's a 28 thousandths. It probably will go through there, which it does. But I'll bet you a 30 won't go through it. Oh, it's 27. I could go the other side over here. These should be 42 to 44 thousandths on this motor. I like to set them on the wide side of 40, 44. Okay, that's a 35, which is way too close. See, it does not pull through it, and you don't force it. It should effortlessly come through that gap. So you put it like this, and if that's got a little arc to it, the wire gauges will go right through. Then we know that plug's 28,000, brand new plug in the box. Guys do it all the time. They take them out of the box, screw it in the motor. And I'm telling you, with a 17 thousandths gap too close, your motor ain't gonna run right on it. It's not near enough plug gap for a Pro XS motor with the glue injectors. These I have already pre-gapped, but to gap them, in fact, let me do this one that's not gapped. Those I already did to save time because it takes a little while to do it. And there's a proper way to hold them to do it too on it. So you want to support this thing mostly by the metal, not by the porcelain. So I will hold them and I'll place this my finger so it's contacting this and the gap. Your fingers are very sensitive. You can feel 1/1000th of an inch easily. So when I bend this, I can feel it move. And when you put this in there, you can't allow this to contact the center. See there? Can you see the gap there, Chow? In it?
Yeah, I see it.
You don't want it hitting the center piece and damaging it or prying against the porcelain. So you have to position this just the right place. And then when you flex it, it can bend that electrode. If I have my finger here, when I do this, I can feel kind of the springiness. It's not bending it, it's not changing it, it's the flex in it before it actually bends. But you can feel it when you do this a little bit. You keep going a little more, a little more, a little more, and you'll feel it give just a little bit. When you feel it give just a little bit, you prefer not to overdo it. Now I'm going to check it. So I'm sure it didn't go enough for 35 to go in, and it doesn't. And I go clear up to a 44. So I know, but I know from experience about how usually by the second or third time I get it bent right. So you see how I'm holding it so I don't pressure on the porcelain. That should be a lot closer now. And that ain't much. Keep in mind a hair on your head is only about 3/1000ths of an inch. Now 35 goes through. A 40 is not going to go through. What I'd like to do is I adjust it so a 40 goes in, a 45 will not. And then if a 44 slides in, I know I'm dead nut on. As I said, I like them wider, not closer. If I'm going to be off, I want it to be on the wide side. You'll get that contributes to a better idling motor. Here, I think it moved. .40 is almost going in, not quite. Bit more, but I'm getting closer. It takes a little while to get proficient at this, and you put a whole lot of time in it learning how to do it right. Now 40 falls right through. 44 barely goes through. And I'm betting a 45 won't. 45 will not go through. Okay. But I feel comfortably that the plug gap is 44 thousandths. Okay. Exactly where I want it to be on it. These I've already did. I did those last night to save time today.
Okay.
If you drop a plug, throw it away. Get a new one. If you drop it on the car, don't waste your time inspecting it or regapping it. Just throw it away and get a new plug.
Okay.
There, that critical. You end up getting a hairline crack in here, and then the spark starts jumping down that crack. It forms a carbon trace, and then you got a misfire. It's not worth the grief. Material, glass like it's a porcelain. Being so hard, it doesn't take much of a shock to crack them. Yet they're very durable to make them running. But guys have damaged them by holding this back here when they're bending them to gap them. And they can crack the porcelain seal in here, or actually crack the porcelain because they're putting so much pressure. That's why I stress holding that metal firmly holding that metal when you're bending it, and with the finger here and there to support. And that way you won't damage the plug when you're gapping it.
Good to know.
These little things, that's why I like doing this video. These little things are important. To start the plugs. This is a coil boot. You usually pick them up at part stores. I like them long, very flexible. They don't collapse. They really make starting the plug easy. You can use a piece of fuel hose. Just cut off the length so that it slides over the plug firmly, so it holds it, and it can change to the various angles to get it started and make starting the plug. Starting them with a socket, and a ratchet's too rigid, too stiff. And it's too easy to damage the threads that are so delicate to sort. But this, kind of like the hose in my compressor tester, you can get it to flex until it starts. You never, and I don't like to see guys ever put a socket on it because it damages threads, and then it's a little tight, so I'll just put the wrench on it. Then they put the wrench on it to damage the thread. Get it? So you can screw this plug all the way in with your fingers. And this is why I like this boot so well.
And it's so flexible too, so
it's easier than hose is to use. Utilize. It takes the risk of damaging something out because it's a little simple thing. And a critical torque. This porcelain that's in here in the spark plugs, the length of that porcelain actually is a big factor in what we call heat range of the spark plug. Usually the longer it is, the cooler it is. The shorter it is, the hotter it runs. Well, the heat gets absorbed in this housing and then goes out through the threads into the aluminum around it. If the threads are loose, it won't transfer the heat. As a result, the porcelain can get red hot. That red hot can ignite the fuel mixture before the spark happens. And that's how it can actually blow up a motor. People don't think about that. And the aluminum transfers heat faster, but it's very critical for expansion rates. So torque, I can't stress a torque wrench enough for most of the stuff on it. Guys don't realize how important it really is. Passenger car engines, not so much. They have the luxury of being able to put a lot more mass and a lot more strength in it. These motors have to be built light for a reason, and Mercury's done a hell of a good job at doing that. But the price we pay is more sensitive. And torque becomes way more sensitive than a cast iron block 4-stroke motor is.
Okay.
So you just go till you hear the torque wrench click when it's done. And I'll hit it about 3 times on the torque to make sure it's seated again. And do them all. Now, you'll notice some angle on this one. This is another reason Cowlings should have come off. This has changed things a little bit because of the angle.
Okay.
I will under torque slightly with this. So I know I'm doing this from experience. I shouldn't even be showing this in the video.
Yeah.
But I will go a little bit more.
We can clip some stuff out.
I'll go a little bit more to compensate that. Because guys that really know this see me doing this, and they're going to say, that's wrong. Yeah, you're right. It is. Technically, it's wrong. But when you've done it a long time, you know how to deal with it, too. So I go that little bit and a little bit more. About 2 or 3 pounds. That's about how much air there would be from that angle. But I definitely didn't want to do this without a torque wrench in the video, especially.
Okay.
I don't want people to get bad ideas.
Yeah.
Now, that one, I can't get enough angle with it. I have to get this one, the angle's even greater yet.
All right.
Cowlings off, I'd had straight shot. I just didn't do that, and I don't want to interrupt your video work to do it now.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you don't want to bend the spark plug sideways, so you'll see me holding this and bracing it against something. Because if you go sideways, you can crack the porcelain too. So that, about 3 more pounds.
Okay.
So I feel comfortable with that.
All right, spark plugs are been replaced.
One more important thing. To me, this is important. A lot of guys skip this stuff. But I think especially in a marine environment with a lot of water valve, you might get a water leak under the cowling.
Yeah.
Dielectric grease.
Oh, okay.
Dielectric grease is an insulator. It also helps slow down corrosion, oxidation. And I forgot to mention, make sure your spark plug tools are sanitary clean. If they got grease and oil in it, clean them. When you pull it off, that spark plug should be perfectly clean, brand new. No grease, no oil on it.
I think we all do this. What we do is when we replace the spark plug, we just take it out, gap it, and toss it right in, and that's it.
Clean the spark. I clean my spark plug sockets regularly. I keep them clean, so you'll see there's nothing on those plugs, because all those things are potential carbon tracks. It becomes easier to follow that contaminants and dirt ground and then jump across the gap. Dielectric grease. I will put a really good shot of it right in the end here. It keeps the boot from sticking to the side. You destroy it. It also seals water out. Should you get a water leak, the water can get in here and cause a misfire. If your secondary system's in good shape, I can run a water hose so this will never misfire. That's the way it should be. Went on.
And you always have to hear that snap.
Yeah, you feel it. You feel it snap. If it don't, you may need to replace the wire.
Yeah.
Here. If you don't get it snap, it can be spread, the metal portion of it.
Yeah.
And it's at high risk of coming off later. There, I felt it.
Yeah.
If I don't feel it, I'm going to be trying to tighten it up. I'm going to be replacing the wire or wires. Because it makes me look bad. Somebody's out in the water and spark plug wire falls off after I've had the plugs out. But I'll rock them back and forth when I push firmly. I thought I felt that one click.
Right over there.
But you see, I put quite a bit of that in there.
I don't think most guys that replace it by themselves do that.
Most guys don't, but some guys do. But they don't take the time to learn to do it right. They end up with running problems, and they don't know where to start to find it. And a lot of times they created the problem. You know, they were trying to prevent a problem, but they created one in the process. But a lot of these motors, sometimes they develop leak points, like from these sensors there. Sometimes the head starts leaking, power head gasket down here starts leaking, and it may be a tiny drip now, but at 25 pounds of water pressure, it's a gusher. It's spraying water everywhere.
Yeah.
And you'll see the signs, because you'll see the white residue and everything from a water leak. You got to find the water leak when you see that white residue left behind. I see 2 or 3 motors a year, every year, or more, that have power head gaskets leaking on them. I have to take the motor off and put a new power head gasket on it. It's pretty common on newer Pro XS motors. Mercury changed the gasket design, which is much easier gasket to service and replace, but it seems to me that it's way more prone to failing too. Torque wrench.
Okay.
Guys think, oh, I don't need it for spark plug. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Aluminum engines, aluminum distorts very easily, and you can build stresses in it. If it's not torqued properly, it can end up causing cracks. You can distort a cylinder that ultimately causes piston seizure or ring to hang in a ring grip. Torque wrench on aluminum is critically important. If you try to do it without a torque wrench, you better have a lot of experience in knowing how to do it. If you under torque, things can come loose. If it's under torque, spark plug comes loose, it'll rattle around in the threads. So it's wearing the thread, and it won't wear that spark plug because it's steel. It'll wear the threads in the aluminum in the head. And that becomes a poor connection. The poor connection will cause the spark plug to substantially overheat. Then if it overheats, it can cause what we call pre-ignition, meaning it's hot enough that when the piston comes up, the plug can actually be red hot tips because it can't cool down if it's not, and it could cause it to ignite well before it's supposed to. That can in turn cause detonation, which burns up pistons, and it will look like a lean run failure when you examine the piston, all because the spark plug came loose on it. Hey, Bill. Hi. So anyway, always check to know what your motor is supposed to be torqued at.
Okay.
These new motors are only torquing 15 pounds of torque, but I know this motor is 20 pounds. And this one's a micrometer type torque wrench, so I can turn the handle until it's on 20 pounds, lock in place. When it clicks, I know the spark plug's properly tightened on it. If your torquers are old, you should send them in and have them rechecked. But being in the automotive business, every 3 or 4 years I sent my torque wrenches in back to Snap-on, who I bought them from, and had the calibration tested and reset it if needed.